What if you could think your way to success and let go of the fears holding you back? In today's episode, I am breaking down chapters 5 and 6 of Psycho-Cybernetics by Maxwell Maltz. And in these two chapters, I'm going to show you how rational thinking and relaxation can transform your life. So let's get into it. Hi, everyone. I'm Jennifer, your host of Knoedl.com. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you ever feel stuck or stressed about achieving your goals, this episode is the one for you. It's going to have practical insights to help you reframe your mindset and trust your natural abilities. Okay, so today we are focusing specifically on overcoming fear and trusting your mind. So we're going to hop back into chapter 5. And I'm going to set this up with a little blurb from the book. Your automatic success mechanism, or whatever Freudians call the unconscious, is absolutely impersonal. It operates as a machine and has no will of its own. It always tries to react appropriately to your current beliefs and interpretations concerning environment. It always seeks to give you appropriate feelings and to accomplish the goal that you consciously determine. It works only on the data that you feed in it, the form of ideas, beliefs, interpretations, or opinions. So I think really what Maltz is trying to say, main idea, is that our emotions stem from our thoughts. And by changing how we feel by changing how we think, we can change how we feel. So, really some of the main ideas is that we have to challenge whatever irrational beliefs that we have. And a lot of times we can have a lot of negative emotions like fear and doubt, low self-esteem. And these they all come from distorted thinking, because that's not the truth of what God says about you. So it's distorted thinking. And so we need to ask ourselves, is this belief, is it based on facts or assumptions? It says, the minute that we change our minds and stop giving power to the past with its mistakes loses its power over us. And there's just so much of that. I think there's more of us living in bondage to our shame. I don't know if you've listened to any Brene Brown, but she talks about shame a lot. And it's so limiting, and it's not from God. It's not something that, God requires us to be shameful about things. So, without being too intense, it's from the devil. It's from a dark spiritual place, and the devil can only be at one place at a time. So what can we do about this? We really have to learn how to reprogram our self-image. We have to use rational thoughts to identify and then replace the limiting beliefs that we were having with empowering beliefs. So instead of thinking, I'm never going to do it right, not going to do it right this time, you're saying, I'm failing forward. Every time there's something that doesn't go right, I learned something. And honestly, it's like, I tell you what, that has been definitely my little motto throughout life. I know a little bit about everything. I'll tell you what, I'm a little bit dangerous. So, if everything goes down. Yeah, I'm gonna be surviving, because it'll be like, oh, I learned how to do that one time. I tried that one time. Anyway, so he talks more about how visualization is a rational tool. Like, mental rehearsal is a powerful way to condition your brain for success. And I think it's one of those things that we don't really give enough credence. I'm thinking it's kind of like prayer, but thinking how things are going to go well is not something that many of us are very accustomed to doing. We're not used to picturing ourselves handling challenges with confidence. We usually imagine the worst possible scenario and then we don't do that thing, right? It's like, oh, I don't want that to happen. And it's just like, is that rational? So, it's important to realize, I think, one of the takeaways from chapter 5 here is that our rational thinking, it's a tool for our clarity and our empowerment. And by choosing our thoughts, we reshape our emotions and really our lives. Something that my dad would always say is, don't let your emotions what do you say? Be the general, something like that. Don't let your emotions be the general. Like you tell your emotions, they're the little soldiers. You tell them what to do. And it's not easy, but it's simple, right? It's like, it's in the Christian, take every thought captive. It's like, what is that thought about? Like, why do I feel down? What am I thinking about? What's going on in the background? I think a lot of times we just think, oh, I'm down. It's like, well, why are you down? Oh, I guess because I have this tape recorder in the back of my head saying this thing that, it's so constant or it's so subtle that I hardly take notice of it. But we really need to, because it ends up being part of our programming, and that affects how we are, how we live, our habits, doo-ba-doo. Okay, so moving on to chapter 6. I started doing 2 chapters because there's just too much good stuff in here, guys. Like y'all really have to read this book. You don't have to, but it's really good. There was another little section I wanted to read to you from chapter 5 before we move on. And it just says that, if you analyze this, you'll see that you are using a process you've used before, worry. The only difference is you change your goals from negative to positive. I don't know about you, but I am an expert in worry. I wouldn't even need a green ribbon of participation in worry. I definitely get a blue. I am good. I'm also a risk taker. So even though I kind of worry, I kind of feel the fear and do it anyway. So we are full circle on that idea. So we're going to move over to chapter 6 again. If you want more information, I do have some resources on my site, but also pick up this book. It's so good. Okay, so moving on to chapter 6. Really, the title is Relax and Let Your Success Mechanism Work for You. So it's really thinking about how success, it doesn't come from overthinking or from forcing it, which honestly, I don't know if that's true. It seems like it could be true for some people, but then you hear other people, or they're just like, day and night, this is all I do, and that's how I had success. So I don't know. I think I found success both ways, if I'm being honest. I found success from trying really hard, and other times things have just kind of fallen into my lap. So it's a very interesting idea. He talks about the importance of just being relaxed and having a focused mind to activate your subconscious. And one thing that I would not call myself, or haven't throughout my life, is like relaxed, like I actually make jokes about not being, I'm like, oh, me, easy breezy. I don't really feel that I am an easy, I like things the way that I like them. I have certain ideas about how things should be. So I don't think that I am very relaxed, and I'd like to work on that, because really I'm only hurting myself. So some of the main ideas in chapter 6 are really talking about how our brain is a guidance system, and it works best when we're calm and we're clear. We know what our goals are. We're just like, clear, which is difficult, specifically in our society, because it's very chaotic out there. Lots of noise. But he talks about using deep breathing, mindfulness, visualization, to quiet your mind. And then that in turn reduces your tension, and then it allows you and your subconscious to perform at its very best. This is what it reminds me of, the saying, let go and let God. It's like, bring your problems to God, and then believe that he's working on them. Like, you do your part, which I think this aligns perfectly. It's like, you do your part, but you don't, maybe you don't have to really knock yourself out. You just have to stay steady. Again, I've heard it both ways, right? People that are like, this just kind of happened by staying steady. And then other people that are like, I'm thinking of David Goggins, is just like, pushing himself all the time. But he does a lot of mindset stuff also, of visualizing his success. So, really, when it comes down to it, we all have to decide what's best for ourselves and do what's best for ourselves. So, I want to read you this little section. In order to receive an inspiration or a hunch, the person must, first of all, be intensely interested in solving a problem or securing a particular answer. He must think about it consciously, gathering all the information he can on the subject, considering all the possible courses of action, and above all, he must have a burning desire to solve the problem. But after that, after he has defined the problem, he sees in his imagination the desired end result, securing all the information and facts that he can. He then additional struggling, fretting, worrying, it doesn't help, and it seems to hinder the solution. Wow, like this is really good for me because I want to will everything. And what I like about this is it obviously is a combination, right? It's another Bible verse, counting the cost. It's considering all the different options, all the different possibilities, and then going with something. Going with something that makes logical sense, that the good Lord gave you a brain and like this makes logical sense. So let me see if there was anything else I wanted to share in here with you, which was yes. So this really talks about just multitasking, I guess, is really what it is, which I am super guilty of doing. And sometimes it does work. I mean, gosh, remember we used to have dial up, like that's dating myself, where you had to wait a long time. You turned on the computer and walked away and made a sandwich, and then maybe it was on by the time you get back. Now it's like I can't even wait for a page to load, with my fast Wi-Fi, because, there's just so many things to do and I'm trying to multitask. But this says, when we feel jittery or worried or anxious in thinking of the great amount of work that lies before us, the jittery feelings are not caused by the work, but by our mental attitude, which is, I ought to be able to do all this at once. We become nervous because we're trying to do the impossible and thereby making futility and frustration inevitable. The truth is, we can only do one thing at a time. We really can only do one thing at a time. We can shift really quickly, but at the end of the day, you really can only do one thing at a time, which reminds me that you can only think one thing at a time. So I think there's just a little correlation. I made that correlation on my own. So, I know, the old saying is, if you think about a purple elephant, think about a purple elephant, and then don't think about a purple elephant. It's really difficult to stop thinking about it unless someone says, think about a green car. Oh, okay. All right. Well, that was easy. So, control your thoughts, right? Control your thoughts, change your life. So two things that, that are very practical that you could take away from this is practicing that mental rehearsal, spending a few minutes every day, visualizing yourself being the person that you want to be, maybe some interactions that you would be having, how you're going to handle, you're considering the cost, you're considering conversations you might be having, what someone might say, how you might respond. And even if you don't have that specific conversation, the more and more that you are getting into this other, your hero self, this version of yourself that's just like, oh yeah, I like that version of me. The more that you're practicing that in your mind, the more it becomes your reality. I mean, we cannot overlook the power of our mind. I mean, this reality is very one dimensional when you consider the spiritual world that's going on all around us. So practice your mental rehearsal and try a relaxation exercise before you do a big task. I really have been doing this with things I find I get anxious about. And sometimes I'll just go and just breathe for 5 minutes and it helps. It really does help. I'm one of those people that it's like, I want to do something, but I'm a human being. So maybe we need to work on being, right? We're not human doings, we're human beings. So let's work on the being part. So that is about it. That's about it. And I don't know if you've read Psycho-Cybernetics or applied any of the techniques, but I would love to hear what you think of the book so far. I think we're, about halfway through. I think I'm going to interrupt this series and put a guest interview on. I'm very excited. I shot that yesterday. So we will be sneaking that in. And I know you're going to pick up some good tips from that. But aside from that, if you would like help starting your own podcast where you can share transformational ideas like these, just email me, jen@jenknoedl.com. And that is it for today's episode about overcoming fear and trusting your mind. If you found this review helpful, please like, subscribe, and share this podcast. I would really appreciate it. And thanks so much for listening. I will see you next time for more powerful insights on how to have a better, smarter life. All right. I'll see you next time.